Yeah, that's what I'm doing, everybody. Until I get my video editing software, I'm looking into some things. A couple of friends have mentioned different sites to go to, and I'm working it out. I'm shopping around. But until then, I had to get the titles in there somehow. But anyway, welcome back to the channel. This is Robbie at Smirking Gun Reviews. I realize a little time has gone by since we've done some Doctor Who. But it's time. We're back with Doctor Who Season 8, Episode 5. It is called Time Heist. I like this poster. It was the only one that I could find that was like, I don't know, kind of cool looking. The rest were very basic. So anyway, full spoilers if you have not seen this episode. Now, this is like not one of those that's going to knock your socks off. But it's a nice, fun episode. And it had me guessing, but it also was a bit predictable. Because throughout a lot of this episode, I kept thinking this reminds me of Rick and Morty, Season 3, The Vindicators 3. Spoilers if you haven't seen that episode of Rick and Morty, where basically in the episode, Rick has a completely blackout, drunk, that's basically every day, right? Moment where he sets up a plan without him even knowing what he's done that ends up through the course of the episode knocking people off one by one. And except in this case, the same thing is kind of happening, but the Doctor isn't aware of who the architect is. Now, I called it early on. I mean, I was like, well, I bet you he set this all up. We're going to find out that it was the Doctor all along that set this all up. And that's what made me think of Rick Sanchez and Rick and Morty and all that. I was like, oh, well, this happened first, of course. This is way more original than that. But I mean, so if there was a complaint, it is that it's predictable, but it's still really fun. It's a lot of fun, and I love heist movies. If you guys just noticed, I just reviewed Matchstick Men. I love covering, I also did for Patreon, House of Games, which is a David Mamet movie about a con. I love cons, heist, robbery movies, and so this was a fun one to watch because even though it was kind of low stakes, universally, like in the show, like galactically, or for the people that are going through this is like the end of the fucking world. Literally. And it was nice to see that the characters that they brought in, right? So you got the shapeshifter and the guy with all the tech in his head. And look, anybody wants to get mad at me for not remembering their names, they're in one episode, and with all the names I got to remember reviewing Netflix's Dark, you're lucky that I remember Clara's name and the Doctor, and that it's Peter Cavaldi and Jenna Coleman. That's about as far as I can go right now with names for this. So just bear with me. It's nice to see that when they died, I was like, oh man, it's going to be one of these where people like making sacrifices for people that they just met instead of reacting the way most people would be. It was just like, I'm not saving Clara from the teller, which is a really interesting, very Star Wars looking character. Not a bad thing. I mean, that was a very cool, practical creature. But I mean, if I'm a normal person, would have been like, sorry Clara, you're on your own. You're the one who can't keep your mind clear. So there was that, but I mean, it was disappointing that they were just dying, and I was like, man, everybody's done that. Anybody can do that. So it was nice to see that since anybody can do that, and they do that all the time in movies movies and shows where they deal with, stakes like this. It was nice to see that it was all a ruse, that they weren't really dead. It was a teleporter. That was really, really cool. And I was happy to see that they, again, if you want to subvert expectations, do it in a way like this. Show me something that I haven't seen a million times, which is they're not actually dead. They're actually still going on with the heist. Another cool thing was the twist with who was the owner of the bank. I did not know that it was going to be her, the same girl, a clone. Well, she's the original, but the girl working upstairs is like a clone. Um, and the whole thing with the worms was really, really cool. I loved that nothing ever happens to anyone from answering a phone to we're holding worms in our hands. Was really a nice way to begin the episode to make me, because I kind of felt like I was like, wow, like what is going on here? This is just, she's going on a date and they're supposed to go on, this was supposed to be a heist thing. So I just loved that opening. It just kind of jars you to like right into the action. None of the characters know what's going on. It's kind of like a Saw movie. Better than Saw, okay? But you know how everybody wakes up in those movies and they don't know how they got there and their memories are like, whoa, what happened? I'm all drowsy and shit. Somebody hit me with some ketamine. Um, so all the ways that they did this to make it a unique yet similar or homage to other things. I mean, there were homage, like the way some of it looked was very Ocean's 11, which is very cool. And just the way that the Teller character was, and how you figured that it was going to play a part in it, but what you didn't know is like the cool scene where the doctor lets himself get read. And he gives all the, like, the guy with the big scarf and the bow tie and the, how he looks like he landed on magician. So I love that part. He's so self-deprecating. It's great. And he's got this very innocent kind of quality to himself. I don't know if that's all the doctors, but I love, when she's like saying, hey, look at me, check me out, like, don't I look good? Look fishing for a compliment. And he's just like, what am I supposed to say? What am I looking at? Oh, you want a compliment? Okay. I like that he's not like, he doesn't understand like the subtleties of that kind of thing, because romance really doesn't seem like it's a big part of the doctor's life. I did like that he hates the architect, which does that mean he hates himself? Because again, that's another thing. There's been so many doctors. He seems to have difficulty with his, I guess, with everything that he's seen. I think is that what's causing him to like kind of hate himself, all the lives he's lived and different bad, like sacrifices he's had to make, not just on himself but of other people. Again, this is just kind of me reaching out. I mean, nobody has to give me like a full synopsis, but just tell me if I'm on the right track or something like that. But in the end, when we find out that he did it himself, like the phone call was from the bank owner in the future. He already knew that this was a time heist. He didn't know it was a time travel heist. And so everything he was doing, God, I'm watching a lot of time travel stuff lately, that everything he was doing for her was information she needed then to use in the future to call him then in the past. Since watching Dark, this is old hat now. It's easy to talk about a little bit better. And it's nice that it's a little smaller scale. Now, I don't know why this person didn't have a knowledge that the bank was going to probably blow up with the rest of everything else because of the, what is that, like solar flares or whatever that was happening nearby that was just burning everything up. Like that whole place looked like it was, all those people were going to be torched. So like it may seem like small stakes in a 45-minute episode, but for those poor bastards, that's like fucking getting charred alive. Because they didn't seem to have any kind of exit strategy. They were just kind of running around. But knowing that he's the one that set it all up is pretty cool. And I'm glad that I was right. And it's the right kind of predictable. Okay, there's bad kind of predictable. Like how I always can figure out like the Black Mirror twist these days. Like it's things like that. Like figuring out twists. Nobody's really been putting in the time where I can't figure it out. So it's nice to see this kind of thing that gives you a good enough like twists and turns for me to not be able to know exactly how it's going to go down, even though I pretty much got the bullet points. And there's nothing wrong with, I like that it made me think of the Rick and Morty episode, because it means other people will watch stuff like this and go, I'm using that. And I guess the more I watch Doctor Who, I'll probably see a lot more influences in other things that I watch that are influenced by Doctor Who. The next episode looks pretty interesting, called The Caretaker. So, and again, it seems kind of like smaller, like him getting personal into her life, because he still doesn't know that she's on a date with the teacher, or maybe he just keeps forgetting, kind of like a running gag of Who, like on Arrested Development, when George Michael would always talk about Anne that he was going out with, and they always be like, who? I don't know if it's one of those things with the Doctor Who where it's like he just keeps forgetting the poor guy or what. But next, that looks pretty funny. Again, it doesn't look like it's breaking new ground, but I always, now that I'm 5 episodes in, I am kind of sitting there going, okay, now what are they going to do? Because I always feel like, oh, okay, if this seems a little by the numbers, they're going to do something different. And so every time I'm not, I shouldn't say I'm over expecting or overhyped for each episode, but I know at this point they're going to give me something unique in an otherwise tropey universe of television. So that's Time Heist. I really dug it. Everybody got what they wanted, even the lady at the end, although I don't really think she deserved it, but it was all to free the teller's wife, which again, I did not see that coming, because I didn't think that this lady had any guilt and everything like that, and I didn't know that that's what they had over him. But as soon as they said, what would you do this for, what would you, then that's what it was. So it's a nice little package, and it doesn't hurt your brain to watch. It's just a good episode of Doctor Who. It's not mind-blowing, like I said, and it doesn't blow your skirt up necessarily, but I bet you this is somebody's favorite episode, so I'm going to try to talk about it like, if this is your favorite episode, this is your favorite episode. Anyway, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, please join us. It's a lot of fun being here with the rest of us. And it costs you nothing. Maybe I have too much of a potty mouth. I don't know. But anyway, this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying we're going to be back later, maybe not tonight, but we've got Dark Season 2, Episode 8, the finale, coming tomorrow. We've got Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and some other stuff coming up too. So anyway, and check out the Handmaid's Tale contest if you like the Handmaid's Tale. We got all the episodes of The Terror. We got Toy Story 4. We got live streams. We got game streams. We got streams and everything, all for everybody. So anyway, have a great night, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.